And hello, everyone. My name is Eliza Nieweglowska, and I work as a senior scientist on the commercial Cryo-EM team at Thermo Fisher. Today, I'm excited to highlight several resources that we have created for the community, complementing everything we heard about earlier today. Before we jump in, I wanted to tell you a little bit about my background. I completed grad school at UCSF with Dr. David Agard, where I worked on a jumbo bacteriophage that targets Pseudomonas aeruginosa. During the infections, the phage establishes not only microtubules, shown here in red, but also a dynamic protein-based phage nucleus labeled in green. This structure houses the replicating phage DNA. Using Cryo-EM, I was able to show that the protein forming this structure assembles into a beautiful 2D crystalline lattice, both in isolated material, as shown here, and in reconstituted assemblies. Diving into our conversation about funding, the path to funding is an intensive and involved journey. As you get started with critical steps, like reflecting on how to frame and position your story to the appropriate funding entity, as well as developing a timeline, we have created the Thermo Fisher funding site to help. To get there, you can scan this QR code or head to the thermofisher.com/EM funding site directly. There, we have compiled a comprehensive list of resources to guide you through the funding application process. The resources include white papers, application notes, and instrument-specific datasheets, amongst others. Here I am highlighting some of the examples that our visitors find particularly useful. On the left-hand side is a data set that outlines how to plan for a Cryo-EM lab and discusses sample preparation, IT infrastructure, and electron microscopy workflows. On the right-hand side is a white paper that discusses in-depth strategies for winning an NIH S10 grant. One resource gaining traction amongst researchers is creative financing options offered directly through Thermo Fisher. I will briefly cover just two examples of these programs. One such financing option is the Bridge to Grant program, where Thermo Fisher will accept a deferred payment while still shipping and delivering the system on site. For example, if the lease documentation and order come in March, by the time the grant is submitted, the microscope is already shipping. A few months later, when the system is set up, researchers can start collecting data, all before the grant decision is received. By the following year, if the grant is awarded, the university can make the purchase, and if not, the payments on the lease will start. During this whole time, the institution is able to generate data on site to really solidify the importance of having and funding this system. This is also a great program to capitalize on when an institution receives a grant score, but the funds have not yet been dispersed. If you're excited to get those data collections going, this is a fantastic way to accelerate the timeline to installation and ultimately accelerate the timeline to new data. Another financial solution we've established aids those with limited funding for things like renovations and expenses outside of capital equipment. The way this works is that Thermo Fisher's financing will extend a 25% voucher to cover indirect and/or direct operating costs. Excitingly, this has 0% interest and will be repaid over the finance term, usually 3 to 5 years. As a simplified example, a $1 million instrument over 36 months would have a monthly payment just under $30K, with a highly competitive APR, typically beating the market. The 25% voucher would be interest-free and just divided up amongst the 36 months and added to the instrument plus instrument and APR total. This program is a wonderful opportunity to have an extra financial buffer while getting things set up. All right, now that we've discussed the financial, grant writing, and other resources available on the funding site, I wanted to mention a reminder to seek input throughout this journey from colleagues, experts, and us. We have a team full of scientists who love to strategize and would be happy to provide feedback and ideas to support your proposals. Now, one of the best ways to bolster your story is to have some really compelling preliminary data. And that is another area we are more than happy to help. We are fortunate to have the Nanoport in Hillsboro, Oregon, which houses many of our systems. They are run by our fabulous team who will work closely with you to plan the sample preparation and ultimately collect data for you. The experiments can range from cryo-electron tomography to single particle analysis, volume EM, array tomography, all the way through micro-ED. This is a very popular request, so if you are planning to apply for a grant, I highly recommend getting in touch with one of us to get your sample work scheduled and started as soon as possible. Collecting data at the nanoport is one of the key ways we can help support your proposal, but we are also able to help you review them. Checking for scientific and typographical content. And finally, once your proposal is in, it's time to celebrate and keep your fingers crossed. In some cases, this is where folks may want to begin that bridge to grant process, or some may apply for supplementary orthogonal funding sources. But in all cases, please reach out to us as soon as you have an update so we can be ready to provide updated and finalized quotes, get room surveys scheduled where appropriate, and even start thinking about timelines for delivery so you can get your system as quickly as possible. With that, I would like to say thank you for your attention and for joining us today. As I've said, please don't be shy. Keep in touch with us throughout the funding pursuit. We are here to support you and help you move your projects along. Thank you very much.